right.
So
So now when it comes to the drums, all the drums are strictly on vinyl?
no, that's the one thing I will cop to. I dig for exactly two things. One is drums, and two are one shots.
Okay.
If there's like a piano hit, I'll take that. I'm not doing anything. There's gonna be no melodic layer. I don't dig for melodic layers. It's only for sprinkles on top and drums, because I'm really tired of finding unused or good drum breaks in records. Peace.
Peace. What's good?
Peace. How are you?
Hi, Shaolin Luciano. What's goody? Welcome to Strictly for My Diggers.
Peace. Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Oh, it's really ski mask season. It's summertime.
Really?
I feel you.
Yep, always.
Always. Yeah, man. With them type of beats, yeah, that's them. Go out and do a crime, rob some type.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Word. Yeah. No doubt. Yo, it's crazy because when you told me, the first question I was going to ask you is where you located. So you out there in Durham?
So I'm from Durham, but right now I'm in an undisclosed location on the West Coast in the Pacific Northwest, in Oregon specifically.
Right.
Yeah, I was too tired of dealing with the fucking bullshit North Carolina police, so I moved out here.
Oh wow. Yeah. So you from the Durham area, Bull City or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the, yeah, it's crazy because I'm originally from Long Island, born and raised on Long Island, New York or whatever.
Yeah.
Been living in a Queen City for a good minute or whatever. But what's funny about North Carolina? It seemed like all the real hip hop is taking place out in that Raleigh, Durham area because it's trap out here.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because little known fact is like Kane lives in Raleigh right now.
Right.
He lived in Durham for a minute, but moved out to Raleigh. But like, don't get it twisted, bro. Like outside of like the baby, the Charlotte trap scene is incredible. Like you got some real dirty South trap rappers out there right now that are doing the whole early to late 90s Goody Mob type shit still.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm out of the loop like that. Y'all just be in my own little zone or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I saw you on the Instagram, man. You got this ill ass beat machine, like an old beat machine. What is that?
I got several. So what you see in the videos is the Isla Instruments S2400, right? It's basically a version 2.0 of the SP12.
Oh my goodness.
But a couple of differences bring it up to being modern. But I also have like a 2000 XL. I have a 2500. I have an MV 8800. Like I've started on machine, sold that. Had an MPCX for a minute, sold that. Everything I rock with still runs through an through an S950 still to this day too.
Ooh. So you're straight hardware.
Hardware only.
Man, it's crazy because I've been hard pressed of a lot of beat makers that's been on this platform.
Yeah.
Most of them started rocking with software. You know, which is nothing wrong with that. I ain't hating or nothing like that. But it's
I started on software when I first started like 15 years ago. I started on software, but those limitations and like having the physicality of the item in your hand, like it's just not being the most important thing was not having to be in front of a computer. that was huge. That was like, instead of, you know, oh, let me spend 15 minutes looking for this fire sample on YouTube, that turns it into an hour of looking at other things, you know, rather in that hour or 15 minutes that I can make like 2 beats out of that, just
Right.
like looking at the MP.
Right. And it's funny that you say that, because a lot of the people on this platform said that, you know, hardware had limitations and that, you know, software made it easier, you know. And you know, it's funny because some of these people, and I'm not going to name names, but there's been people I've interviewed that only been making beats a year, 2 years. And I'm like, your beats sound ill like that. And I'm like, is it the add water effect because of these software programs? Or is this making these dudes nice overnight, or what?
Somebody on your platform that I won't name as well had it put it the best, and I've never heard it put better on this than exactly to what you're talking about now. Is that the barrier is step one. There is no mystique anymore. There is no more having, and I'm gonna sound real old here by saying this, but with programs that I love, like Ableton, make it like, I love Ableton. I used Ableton for a decade now.
Right.
But programs like Ableton and other things like that make it so easy to get ideas out from A to B. Now, while that's not necessarily a bad thing, I also think that the idea of kind of establishing yourself and developing yourself in that regards, and kind of learning how these things work and how these processes, what, you know, kids these days, and I'm only 31, so saying kid is funny to me, but kids these days, they don't go back and they don't learn how those 7 seconds of sample time created potentially an entire album. You know, you could, I mean, certain people could take one sample and flip it 15 different ways.
Right.
Off of just 7 seconds. So, I mean, when you're able to take a loop and then beat match it to a drum break and then call it a day, like, that's as ill as that can sound, you're not developing yourself that way. The limitations are good for other reasons than, like, you know, just having it in front of you. It's right. Like, it literally completely changed how I think about things.
Right. Because I'm like, a lot of these dudes, I'm like, yo, these dudes are getting nice like overnight. I mean, I had to work my ass off to get nice. I had to really work at this to get good, and I'm still feel there's more. I need more improvement. You know. I mean, I just had to work. I mean, and looking at those beat machines, I said, I know you're digging. You've got to be.
Of course.
I know you're going through records.
I got a 3x3 thing shelf over there.
Right.
I got another 3x3 thing over there, and I got like 8 boxes of records in my my hallway right now.
Oh wow! So you're on the West Coast. Any good digging spots? Like, you have any favorite?
So yes and no. I have stopped going to the kind of the spots that everybody knows about these days. I still love them, but I also know that they're going to get run through. So I found a good spot out by me that's all consignment all the time. It's like a rotating record fair every week. Just nobody is there. It's just one person running it, but none of it is stocked by him. It's all people bringing in their own things. I love going to that spot. There's a few places up in Portland that are great. Over by the mall, and anybody who's out there will know what those are. I've forgotten the name of those, there's a spot in Seattle that reminds me of the Thing out in Greenpoint.
Right.
To bring it back to New York. There's some spots, yeah.
So
nothing like the East Coast though.
Right, definitely. So when you go out digging, do you know what you're looking for? Because I know you like that grit, that grime. Like what genre are you digging for to get that grime?
I'm gonna throw. So unlike most producers who are gonna really withhold what they do, I'm gonna give a couple gems. If you want grit and grime, you're gonna want to look for jazz records off of the ECM label from like 72 to 78, and then library records. You want the grit and the grime, and you want that feel. You're going to want to go with the classics. You're going to go with the mid 70s wah wah Curtis Mayfield sounding stuff. You're going to want to go with the library records from like DeWolf and KPM, but more along the lines of the ECM label jazz stuff is always going to be incredible for that kind of thing, because you don't hear it until you start fucking with it, right? And you're like, oh wow, this is exactly what I'm looking for.
So your process of digging, right? Do you bring a portable turntable with you, or do you just dig and be out?
Nope. I dig, and then I hope to God I got something good.
There you go. There's a lot of surprises. You get a lot of surprises when you take the record home, like, oh, you know what I'm saying? And then sometimes you hear something that someone else shoots, like, oh, that's where he got that from.
I just bought a portable record player like 2 months ago, but it's not for that. It's so that I can like literally hop on a flight and have a record and an MPC in my turntable and an MPC in my bag.
Right. Now, have you used that, was it the MPC-2, the one that's standalone? You got that one?
I have the 2000 XL. Yeah.
Oh, you got the XL. Yeah, I know the XL.
Yeah.
The old,
so the Live 2?
The Live 2, yeah.
Yeah, so I had the X. So I had the X from when it launched up until January. I only sell gear to buy more gear. Yeah.
Got you. So when it comes to making beats, do you have a go-to box that you use, or is it whatever you feel like that day, or that you have on hand?
It's like literally whatever. I have it on the desk, and I will be hard pressed to move it because I'm lazy. But I got several on hand, and I'm still I got the MV88 specifically to learn, because it was my personal holy grail for a long, like a lot of, you hear about like the MPC 60 and the SP 1200 and all that, and I'm like just young enough to be right past that point.
Right.
So for me, it was coming up on the 2000 and like the SP 202.
Right.
And then when YouTube came along, the RZA had when he made the Afro Samurai soundtrack, he did that all on the MV8800, and they put the sessions up on YouTube. And I was like, that's what I want, because it's the perfect combo of hardware and software. It's the machine that's architecture drives what Native Instruments did with the machine, what Akai is done with, and Akai is done with the new series MPC stuff. It's completely, all of that is owed to the MV8800.
Yeah, I never hear anybody mention that machine either. That's interesting, that MV. Because I remember, RZA was using that.
It's a boutique one. You're only gonna get real equipment nerds who are going to want to hear about that one.
Now, have you ever played with the AirSaw 10 or the AirSaw X?
I have not. It's been on my, like everybody, it's on my bucket list, but with Corona having made resale values insane. I'm
Right.
just, it's not real high on my priority list.
Yeah, because you know, I notice a lot of people, they always keep that ASR 10 around, no matter what, no matter how they upgrade, they keep that ASR 10 close. There's something about that ASR 10 that people tend to love, that keyboard, that sampling keyboard.
It's, I know several people who have one, and they always say it's a combination of the swing and the fact that it's basically like a hi-fi SP12. You have the grit and the crunch, but you don't have the 8-bit, 12-bit kind of lo-fi stuff.
Right. And the predecessor, which I have it, but you know, I've had it for years and I've never used it, which is the EPS 16 Plus. You ever played with that?
I have played with that one. Yeah. And if you want to take it even further back for me, and that the one I'm really looking for is the Mirage.
Wow. Wow. So with these machines, is it, do you challenge yourself? Because a lot like the SP12 has very limited sampling time.
I love the challenge. It's what that's a big part of it. It's a big part of it. It's like, it's not as easy. Like, once again, it's the whole learning. It's taking it back to the old ways of doing things and learning how the standard 90s, you know, horn delay, right? If you don't know about 16 pad mode on an MPC series, you're not gonna be able to do that.
Right.
Like, but like, that's such a quintessential sound that is easy yet hard to duplicate without devices like that.
So let me ask you a question. So you going back to these machines with limited sampling time, does that slow down your workflow? Because I know things are quick now, you know, things are quick now. Yeah. People want, you know, putting out music and making beats.
Yeah, my work process is going to end up probably turning me into the J Electronica of producers. I'll drop 1 to 2 things a year. They'll be they'll be dumb fire.
Right.
But I'm personally never going to, unless in the rare chance that like this gets to become like the sole monetary road for me, like I'm never going to be able to dedicate the time and how I work, because I got to go through every sound. I got to chop up everything, and then I got to check everything out. And it's like, what kids are making in 15 minutes these days takes me like 3 hours. And I totally admit that. I totally admit that to myself, right? It's not, because if I don't, like, let's say I don't like what, like, maybe I don't like that snare, right? Well, then I had to go find another snare, and then I got to bring that in and bring it in. It's like every little step is such a process, but it's also a fun process.
So you enjoy the little.
It's therapy. I mean, it's like really like you have to, it's what you have to concentrate on. So, you know, like being locked up for a year during 2020 in my studio, like at the time I was at an actual studio, not just in my house. Like that was great. I was by myself. I'd be able to go drive to a secondary location and just work on beats like all day, every day for, I think I did that for like 8 straight months. Right. And I totally had a great time, and I totally burned myself out because of all that.
Right. So how many beats are you making per day? If that process is so long, would you do like 1 or 2
so beats? If I can get a full day to make beats, which is not as common as it once was, it's like 1 to 2, because then I also listen to the sample. So I'm not gonna sit down and like make a whack ass beat with a whack ass sample and fire drums. I'm just not gonna do that. I'm gonna listen to the entire thing, and if that record doesn't catch me, well, that's 15 minutes or whatever, 17 minutes per side. You know, that's not common.
Right. Okay, because that's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
When you sit down with the record, are you spot sampling and taking
Nope, I'm listening.
You play that record all the way through. So you sit with some whack stuff.
So yeah, I can read a record now. So I was always going to sample for vinyl, as my parents put me on to my parents when I was growing up. My bedroom had their stereo system, which was all analog 70s, huge receiver, big giant speakers, and like 100 records. Things that we, you know, call in the hip hop world classics, you know, Iron Butterfly and, you know, early James Brown stuff, like things I'm just like now, like that's like what I'm, you know, it was always going to end up happening. So I can read with having 25 years of handling records, I can read a groove pretty well, and I can be like, oh, there's going to be a drum break right here, or, you know, there's a quiet section here. But I'd rather just listen to the whole thing, because you would be surprised about how many times I've listened to records that are produced by famous people in the underground circuit that I won't name, and found the record and then shook my head while listening to the original record, because if they took like the next 4 bars, the beat would be even crazier. So you always have to listen to the record.
Right. So do you listen to a record more than once when you first buy it, or do you listen to it the whole record once, and do you ever go back and revisit that record?
Sometimes right then and there. Yeah, if some will catch me, I might make a mental note and be like, oh, got to come back to this soon, and then maybe I'll listen to the whole record, but that one little bit is bunk, but I'll listen, so I'll go back and I'll take that.
Right. So, you know, a lot of times our ears change over the years. So you have all these records. Do you ever go back and revisit some of these records?
Yes and no. Definitely changed over the years. I definitely have gone more from the like early 90s primo gangstar style of stuff to what you hear now. I mean, you know, that's going to be a very drastic change and everything. So I sometimes like going back to listen to those to see if I can flip anything and what I do now. And then I just end up making something like I would make back then. So I try not to, but I just sent a beat out, or I'm sending one out tonight, I should say. And the record I chose for that, I made a mental note of coming back to it like a year ago, and I promptly forgot about it.
Right.
And then found it again a couple of days ago and was like, all right, time to use this, and it dumbfire.
Right. So now when it comes to the drums, all the drums are strictly on vinyl?
No. That's the one thing I will cop to. I E-dig for exactly 2 things. One is drums, and 2 are one shots.
Okay.
If there's like a piano hit, I'll just take that. I'm not doing anything. There's going to be no melodic layer. I don't E-dig for melodic layers. It's only for sprinkles on top and drums, because I'm really tired of finding unused or good drum breaks in records. That's a tedious process, and a lot more records than I want to buy.
Right. So, you know, you go digging for drum breaks. Now, do you chop those drum breaks up, or do you just loop them?
99% of the time I will chop them up. If I just loop them, then I will usually loop them for, if I'm doing a 16 in this way, it'll be loop for 8, and then I'll do like a fill, and then I'll chop it up and I'll completely rearrange it for the next 8. But it'll be in such a subtle way that you're not going to notice it unless you're really listening.
Right. So you finger drum out your drums? I mean,
nope. No, no, I'm very, it's just, I do it one at a time, but it'll be like lay the kick down, then have that run, and then lay the snare down, and then I'll go back, and then I'll be like, okay, well maybe there's another kick that needs to be added here, because you can't always, like, no disrespect to finger drummers, but like if you're doing it like that, well maybe when you're doing it in like a one-time run, well maybe it would have been better if this was there and that was there, but you're not going to go back and fix it. So
right. Now, are you quantizing any drums or straight raw?
Depends. It kind of depends on the sample. So if it's some like drunken 70s funk stuff, maybe, probably not. But if it's because all those, because I'm trying to, because you run into the problem with certain eras of certain genres of music, you end up running into the problem of super sloppy drums and trying to play quantized drums over those. It'll be so, you'll get close to it, but there's no way that you're not going to hear both of them in an annoying way. So I'd rather, if it's super sloppy drums, I would rather play over that pattern or mimic that pattern.
Right.
But otherwise, no, I'm gonna line it up.
Because I noticed nowadays it's like the beats are more minimalistic. It's not like the 90s where it was a wall of sound where they took samples from all over and like 4 or 5 samples and made a whole collage in one beat.
Yeah.
Do you think the sample clearance laws have changed that? Do you think that's why they stopped doing it?
Yes and no. I think that I think a lot of that has to do with like a mixture of 4 things. One is just how we have, like you said, how our ears have changed. And we are trying to match the energy of the simplistic, very skeleton, bare bones, the stuff that you hear on the radio. People who've gotten accustomed to not really hearing complexity. That's, you're just going to keep it basic. I think the laws have made it like Paul's Boutique will never be made again. Introducing will never be made again. Like it's impossible. I think people have gotten lazy, which ties back into the simplistic nature of it, because people love things being handed right in front of them on a platter. So if you can get as simple from A to B as you can, people are going to eat that up. And I think that it also has something to do with kind of just the nature of how things roll. Because we're getting back into that whole collage style beat stuff, but it's not necessarily in the underground market, but that'll come back around.
Right. And I think also time, because people put out albums, then they're on to the next one. So the beat maker has to constantly keep up and constantly put these beats out.
And
like in the 90s or whatever, or late 80s, you got one album a year from that artist. Now boom, he's back out.
And I don't necessarily think that how we're going about things in this day and age is a good thing. I think that if we were as a collectively just kind of start going back to that one album a year, then you have to, why would you give us 20 albums a year of bullshit or one great album a year? What are people going to come back to? I'm a person going to come back to that one great album. I would rather have a low output, high quality than high output, low quality.
Now, do you think it's like that because, with so many people making beats and people putting out albums, that you constantly have to overfeed the masses?
No, I think it's strictly because, well, two things. One, it's going back to our short attention span that we've all collectively gotten. And two, I think it goes back to the idea of how anybody can do this in their bedroom now. It does, you know, you don't have to get, you know, anybody can make a band camp. You can make, you can, you know, like there's the rapper Viper out of Houston has put out something like 500 records according to his Wikipedia page.
Right.
There's only like 15 of them that are new music,
Right.
but like with that amount of, you're able to push things out, ideas out, you're ostensibly just going to run into what we've got today, what you're referring to, just with the simplicity of all of it.
Right. Now, I saw on your Instagram, you say that you do not give out beat packs at all.
Nope.
Why is that?
I would rather not have my name attached to something that I wouldn't listen to. If I'm going to work, the only people right now that can get beats from me outside of my direct mediumly sized circle are people I've done shows with, because I always talk to them and build with them and all of that, and friends of my circle. But if you're like if you've heard something of mine from, like, let's say somebody's at a studio and they're playing a beat of mine, and some guy walks in and he's like, oh, who makes that? Oh, Shaolin Luciano. And he goes and hits me up. Get the fuck out of here. Like,
wow. So basically you won't give a beat or sell a beat to someone that you don't like.
No.
Listen, hold on. Even if this dude is popping in the underground.
Depends. I wouldn't do it in the underground. I wouldn't do it in the underground, but if let's say rapper Big Pooh hit me up and was like, oh, yo, let me get something. Absolutely. Right. I don't know that man. We never talked, but it's fucking rapper Big Pooh.
Right.
You know? But like, let's say, oh man, I don't really want to blacklist myself right now, but like, let's say any of like the big name people were to approach me and they were like, yo, let me get something. No, like that comes with the bag.
And when I say big name, I'm not talking about
I'm
talking about the big names in the underground. And
you know exactly who I'm talking about.
Okay,
so
got you.
Yeah. If they were like, yeah, let me get something. Aside from a few, right?
Right.
To drop one name, right? If Rock Marcy was like, yo, let me get some, that absolutely. Right. Absolutely. Like you're the godfather. Like it'd be an honor, right? But the big names that we would associate with being called big names, they're gonna have to come with the bag. Because your reputation doesn't put food on my table. Like, just because you did something with me doesn't mean anything is gonna come from it. Am I guaranteed money from you? Am I guaranteed royalties? Like, what am I guaranteed?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because there's a lot of dudes in the underground that people are feeling. And I'm like, as a beat maker, you can't feel everybody that comes out that's hot. There's certain people that, yeah, he's all right, but I'm not interested in working with him. But if he came for a beat, you're saying you wouldn't give him or sell him that beat out of integrity, correct?
Yes. Out of integrity and out of, we'll go with integrity. Yeah.
Because I was like, there's a lot of people out there that are considered dope, and it's like, he's all right. I'm not particularly feeling him like that, and I don't want to work with him.
there's also some rappers that I enjoy as as a fan, but I also understand that if my name is attached to that individual, that person, having heard stories from verified people, like, this is a general thing. They're sloppy. I'm not really trying to be around messy individuals as well. Like, I'm not trying to have, like, the big thing is I'm not trying to send a beat to somebody who's well known and them immediately write me off because I'm nobody. And I don't want to have them sit there for a year and then, like, fuck, I could have done something with that, It's like, it's integrity, and it's also like, let's make sure that I'm not getting screwed over here.
Right. Because I noticed, like, a lot of the beat makers who I've spoken to, it seems like they have to work and do this part-time, where these guys they're giving these beats to are touring,
because
and making money.
Because not everybody has had the opportunity to do what I did. Like, I went to school for audio engineering. In my 9 months of doing that, 4 months of that I was learning the business. So, like, I know contracts, and I know what, as an artist, like, what I am dude in that part. Like, nobody's asking for songwriting credits. That's a big thing. If you want to get paid, you want to get put, and you made the beat, you technically helped partly write the song. These rappers don't want to give you credit for that because they're egotistical, fragile motherfuckers, as anybody will tell you. But you're due part of those. You're due part of that money.
Right. And so, because I've noticed, like, a lot of times, these quote unquote the bedroom producer, the dudes who making beats for a while, and they want to get on. They're giving beats away to these bigger names in underground. These guys that take their beats, sell it. I mean, make the music, make money off of it. But this same beat maker is going to work every day and doing it part-time.
Think about Old Town Road. Lil Nas X bought that beat off of, I want to say, SoundClick for $15, and the sample he got, that the producer got that from, was a $10 instrumental record. So Lil Nas X made millions upon millions of dollars off of, effectively, what was it, from everybody involved, a $20 investment.
Wow.
That's why everybody's too, like, that's why, everybody wants a chunk of that, because these record labels, they don't want to give, out all their money. Like crediting the beat maker as a person, takes money out of their pocket. And if you don't have a name to yourself, well, then 99% of the time they're going to think, oh, this will give them exposure. Well, the great expression is, exposure doesn't pay my bills.
Right.
Money pays my bills.
Indeed. So with you, there'll be no selling beats online. I forgot what's that popular BeatStars. There'll be no BeatStars paid for you.
I've thought about it because I do stuff. I've thought about it because I do stuff outside of the grimy underground stuff that I wouldn't necessarily put this identity under, and I could do it under all that. But, like, part of me just, like, even wants that to kind of just be this, like, organic kind of find for people. Like, everybody finds me organically. Like, I don't push myself anyway. I don't do nothing of that. It's all 722 of my followers. I earned every single one of those 722 goddamn followers.
Right.
So I'd rather do that with everybody else, with all my other stuff.
Right. Yeah, because I was like, you got the BeatStars page, but then you put those out, you're selling them for dirt cheap. Number one, it might be someone you don't like making
exactly.
And then if they get paid off of it, then you get nothing.
I mean, it happened to me a decade ago. I went under a different name back then. I shared the same name with a now famous producer who I didn't know existed at the time. So I took the change on that one. And back in the day, I put up all my beats up on SoundCloud and had creative control licenses on them. So they all went to YouTube automatically when that switchover happened. And one of those days, I was looking myself up, seeing what if there's any new, because I was popping on SoundCloud. Like I had like 15,000 followers on SoundCloud back under that account. This one, not so much. But I was going on YouTube and looked that up, and then I saw somebody a bunch of comments in French, and I had to look up what they were talking about. And there's a video by a French content creator. I don't really know what he does because everything is in French. I don't speak French, and he made a rap song over one of my beats, and he totally rearranged and fucked it up. And didn't give me credit. So I sent him the most threatening message on YouTube I thought I could, and he came back and he was so apologetic. And then he put up all my socials and all that. But at the end of the day, like, I still don't want the credit for that. Like, you fucked my shit up.
Right.
Yeah. He literally took all 4 sections of it and rearranged all 4 of them. So like that, you know.
Right. Yeah. We get dealt, as beat makers, we get dealt a bad hand.
Yeah.
Very bad hand. That's why this platform was created.
So I appreciate this platform being created.
Just give everybody their flowers and things like that. So I'm always looking for producers, beat makers.
I appreciate it, and I know everybody else does as well.
Yeah. Most definitely. So let's get back into more beat science, though. Now, so you being, because I'm looking at you like a purist, like you real like purist at heart. How do you feel about looping a sample, or do you have to chop?
No, I'll loop. Hip hop was all loops in the beginning. Right. Chopping didn't become a thing until I want to say chopping as we know it didn't become a thing until I want to say the MPC 3000 and even to a point the ASR. Right. So like you can't really chop like you can't chop up like you want in an SP12. You can't chop up an MPC 60 still has to use a S950 as its brain to fully work.
Right.
And like that's
because the S950 is the sampler, which you still use, correct? But you sample from the S950?
Yeah. Well, I use it as an effects unit.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's so I could like MIDI it up and then do all the controlling like it was, but I don't see a point in that when I just want to get that nice 12-bit 24,000 kilohertz crunch on it.
Right.
So but even then, like those don't even chop. Like you have to do key groups, and it's between this node and that node and all that. So like everything like enter the third 6 chambers, it's all fucking loops. It's all loops. I mean, it's all like really short loops, but it's all loops.
Right.
So I can't hate on that.
Okay.
If I loop a beat though, I'm throwing mash shit on top of it. You're not gonna know it's a pure loop.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do the whole drumless loop that repeats for 4 minutes. No disrespect to anybody else who does that. I know people who do it. You've interviewed friends of mine on here who do it, and so I can't knock what they do. So
right. Yeah, because I listen to your beats. The drums punch you in your face.
They have to.
They break your nose type of beats. I mean, type of drums. I hear that. So I don't. Yeah, I can tell you love drums. That's like the skeleton of the beat.
Yeah, I mean, it's all going back to, I want when the aliens come in 2,000 years and this planet is no more and we're finding CDs and shit and they're like, what the hell is this? And they're gonna listen to Moment of Truth, and then they're gonna listen to mine. They're gonna be like, these are 31 years apart, but they don't sound anything alike. And that's exactly what I'm going for.
So, you know, you being this beat maker, all right, and I know you very meticulous. So you're like you're album from Shaolin Luciano or Chronic album. Is that ever coming? Or
oh yeah, no, that's in the works now. So it's gone over. That's been that album has been done and scrapped 4 times now, because my circle keeps changing.
Right.
So and ideas keep changing, and I went very quickly in 2022 to having to pay for all my features, to within 6 months of that being able to reach out to some of the illest rappers underground as like homies of mine and be like, yo, you want to hop on this? And then go, absolutely. So when that changed, then everything changed, because then I was like able to really make what, like, I have the artwork and everything ready for it already. So like it's coming, and it'll be, I already have some things in the works planned for it. I'm kind of jumping the gun on that. I'm kind of counting the chickens before they hatch on that, but I'm doing it in such a way that I know that, you know, the typical thing to say to people in this turn situation would be my rate raised, that you know, when it drops. But I don't really sell beats, so I'll say that my show rate went up.
Gotcha. So now you said you would, you know, you had to pay for features or whatever. Or when you get features, even if they're free features, do you feel you have the right to tell that MC, like, listen, I didn't like your verse, especially if you paid for it?
I'll just dub it. I'll dub it. I have tracks that are on my computer right now that will never see the light of day, because what I sent them, they didn't return the quality.
Right. Because I'm like, in essence, you know, when you pay someone for a feature, they work for you. And I feel, this is just my opinion, this is how I see it. Like, you get a big name, you know, in the underground, the feature. Let me pick and choose what verse I want. Don't just throw me a verse and think because you this big name, I'm supposed to just be happy. You know, and a lot of people, we get starstruck and we don't know our worth. Like, wait a minute, no, that verse was poor. It was piss poor.
That's happened to me, and I'll even tell the story too. I paid for a feature from a famous underground rapper from Chicago, who's in our lane, and everybody should know who I'm talking about now. And sent him a bunch of money because I enjoy him as a rapper and as a human being. You know, he's a social worker in his day job, and I completely appreciate that as a human being. So like, let me bless you. Like, let me pay you what I think you're worth. And while the return track is good, I can tell that the verses were written in 2 different headspaces. And so like I put it out, like it's out on streaming. It's like my 2nd most popular track on Spotify, but I'm never pushing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, it's a good song. Like, the verses are fire. Like, don't get me wrong, the verses are fire, but it's very obvious that he wrote one verse and then sat on it for a week and then wrote the 2nd verse in a totally different mind state.
Right.
So,
and you know, working on your projects, you're making beats or whatever. Has anyone ever gave you a recycled verse that they used somewhere else?
No, I've never had that happen, to the best of my knowledge.
Right. Because you'll probably scrap that too. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Maybe somebody wrote something for somebody that maybe the beat wasn't good enough anymore and they slept on it and they used that verse on my verse. I'm like totally okay with that if I don't know it already is out there. But because I've done that to people. Like I've totally had beats sit for people for a year and I've slide them to other people. Like I'm my most popular track is actually that that dude completely and we're cool now, but he totally like ghosted me for like a year and then I slid it to my homie of mine and like that track went off. That was like it was meant to go to him. So good. I'm glad that it happened like that, but like it goes both ways, you know.
So what is something that you hate about this whole beat making politic game? What really irks you?
The gatekeepers, as I think most people will probably say and will appreciate about that. I and how everybody is very little genuine connection. There's a lot of snakes out here. There's a lot of snakes, and there's snakes in literally every single position that you can be in. And there's like certain things that that happen because of that I wish didn't. Like I think as much as I love like Bandcamp, I think people saying, "Oh, get a Bandcamp" is a snake move, especially from a monetary side. There's platforms out there like Bandzoogle and whatnot. They give you audio player like Bandcamp and let you retain 100% of your money all the time. But I mean, those platforms are not pushed like because of like others, you know. And I think that's also involved in the politics. It's all gatekeeping. It's all snakes. It's all who benefits the most. And at the end of the day, if it's kind of like the 1% 99% argument and everything, if the gatekeepers of the underground and even like the big players, right, were to like let that door open, everybody would eat and they would still eat. Because like those days are totally shot. Like nobody's paying $1 million for a studio budget anymore. But when people sit and they learn how to make money as an independent artist, you don't run the risk. These gatekeepers don't run the risk of losing anything when they open the doors to them, because they're making their own moves, but you're letting them make maybe one more move or two more better moves. You know, it's not necessarily you're going to lose anything. That's a big one. I think that's probably my best one, is because like I've been doing this since 2008, and I've worked for some very big names. And I'm not talking just underground. Like I went major label for a while when I first started. When I lived up in New York, I made some real moves up there, and I have nothing to show for it now, aside from stories, and pictures on my phone. So it's like that'd be nice to have now, but
right. So when you drop this Chronic Light album, I can see you putting that on www.shaolinluciano.com.
It already is going on. I already have that .com set up. I've had that for a minute. When I found out about these other platforms, because I want to do the digital to myself, and I want to have I have a homie who is a record label up in Portland, and I want to have them do I personally want to do the tapes and the digital, because I got a tape duplicator in my other room. And I want to have them do the vinyl.
That'd be dope.
Yeah, because because it's everybody, when everybody eats, like it takes a village, right? Well, that takes for any creative output too. Tyler, the creator, said, you know, going back to back to what we were saying about the whole Russia things, because it ties into this as well. Tyler, the creator, is still promoting his album he did a year ago. He's never done anything. He's still going on radio runs for that. Like that, you know, all those people, they're all helping him out. It's like it takes a village to put out a platinum record. You're not doing that by yourself.
Right. And long gone are the days of producers getting 25 G's a beat, 10,000 a beat.
Oh, those days are gone. Those days are gone, long gone.
Gone. So,
I'm happy having a legacy. I don't need to be a millionaire. You know, 10 years ago when I was really kind of starting to ramp it up, you know, and those budgets were still kind of there. You know, I was like, oh, I'm going to be on the cover of Rolling Stone. That's like what I want to do. I want to be the man. Like I want to be the shit.
Right.
And like at this point, I just want to be able to have physical things that have my name on it, and it leaves, and when I'm long gone, somebody will find it in a dusty record bin. Like I found somebody's probably first album in a dusty record bin, and just the cycle continues.
Right. Yo, that's dope. But listen, yo, I want to just thank you for taking time to chat. This was a dope interview. I really enjoyed this interview. It's one of the best interviews.
I did too. I had a great time.
Yo, this is really dope. You know, just your perspective has been different from everybody else's. You know what I mean? You gave me
I've been doing this a long time, and I've been through the ringer. I've been through all the shit that everybody got to get put through, and I'm still on square too. You know, and I'm still here though. You know,
right?
But
man, I salute you. I really do. I salute you. And you know, I want to hear more, man, because I've been digging for some more stuff. I've heard a little bit.
We'll definitely keep up the conversation. Absolutely. And when I'm ready for a part 2 on here, I'll let you know. Oh
yeah, because after season 3, I want to get a round table, grab a few heads from each season, and we have like a round table discussion.
Yeah.
You know, we may play some beats and what everybody been working on, you know, just having some fun. You know, I want to do that. You know, so if you're interested and want to be down with that,
of course I am. Yeah, I'm definitely down with whatever, you know, with whatever you're doing now.
Yeah. We could just everybody's have a roundtable discussion, build, talk about what they up to, you know, voice our likes and dislikes. And this is what the platform is for. You know what I mean? To celebrate hip hop, speak about our frustrations, and really just, you know, give ourselves our flowers as producers and beat makers, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's you know, like they say, there's only so many seats at the table, and I say, motherfucker, pull up more chairs.
There you go. That's what we're gonna do. Pull up more chairs. That's it. All right, Shaolin, Luciano, y'all, appreciate you. Salute.
Of course, for you. Salute. Peace.
All right, peace.
All right.
I'm gonna tell you now, I ain't no holy individual, but I am righteous. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not gonna steal from you, I'm not gonna cheat. I'm gonna tell you